This video is on the organization chart. It is step 2 of the 6-step business systemization plan. And this is where most business owners accidentally lock in chaos. The value of your organization chart is lost on most business owners. Their coach or consultant tells them to create their org chart with very little context, if any. They build it in PowerPoint or Excel, they print it, they file it away, and it disappears. What they've created is a static diagram of their business instead of a dynamic working model of the business. A real org chart is not just about who you have, it's about the business. It's about how the business is designed to work. Your organization chart is a dynamic tool that can help you strategically build your process-dependent business. The org chart can answer questions like, who do we hire next? What will they do? What roles are we missing? Can we actually support the growth that we're planning? Where does accountability live? If your vision says that you want to double or triple the business, the org chart can tell you whether that vision is realistic. Your vision sets the destination, and the org chart defines the structure to get there. So I want to share a key concept, the difference between people-dependent businesses and process-dependent businesses. Most small businesses grow by accident. A business in its infancy stage grows on the passion and essentially the back of the entrepreneur who started the business. Eventually, they need to hire an employee. But there's no time to develop that position. There's no time to create the processes that would be used to train a new employee hired for that position. They don't even think about that. The business owner needs help because he or she is overwhelmed. They hear about so-and-so who is looking for a job, so they hire them to help them. Well, help them do what? The new employee gets started and just starts doing stuff that needs to get done. Even mature businesses fall into this trap. There is rarely a process for or even a thought about capacity management. They forget about recruiting and hiring until their team is overworked and overstressed, working long hours, making mistakes. They need to hire someone as soon as possible before employees start quitting or customers start complaining about the mistakes being made. And it's the same thing. They hear about so-and-so who's looking for a job, so they hire them to help them. Well, help them do what? There's no hiring plan. There's no clear and concise description about what this new employee will be accountable for. There are no processes for training and managing them in their new role. They learn by shadowing other employees. They learn by doing. And roles get built around people. You end up with one person doing multiple roles, employees reporting to multiple managers, great people getting stuck in the wrong roles. The business is people dependent. Let me say that there is no position on your org chart called Julie or Steve. A Julie or a Steve is almost impossible to replace. And studies show that in most instances, and this is what happens in most businesses, where there are no clearly defined roles, where there are no processes for hiring, training, and managing new employees, 75% of new hires are mishires. 3 out of every 4 employees you hire from outside of your organization are going to end up leaving. This is inefficient, and it is so frustrating. Here's the key concept. Boxes on your organization chart are roles. They are not people's names. Employees fill these roles. And we actually recommend that you build the org chart for the future business, the one that you described in your vision. Then lay down today's people over top of that. In a growing business, people may end up filling multiple roles. That's not a failure, that's a transition plan. The role of the employee who is in multiple positions is to work on the processes of that position that he or she is expecting to get out of and leave behind all of the tools and instructions that will be used to train and manage the new employee eventually hired for that position. So you get out of the box and leave behind all of the processes that will make the person hired to fill that position successful. I'm going to show you this inside TouchStone, because this is where the org chart becomes a living tool. And by the way, if you don't have TouchStone, that's fine. We have a free tool called EasyOrgChart, and you can use EasyOrgChart to build this same future state org chart online. Just go to www.easyorgchart.com and register. Completely free. There's a link in the description below this video where you can register for a free account. The steps for customizing your organization chart in EasyOrgChart are exactly the same as the ones I'm going to be showing you using the TouchStone business system. Or you can draw this on a napkin. The tool doesn't matter. The thinking does. So I'm going to log into a TouchStone account, and I'm going to click the organization chart button here on the left side of the application. This takes me to my org chart. If you are new to TouchStone, you will see a generic organization chart, something like this one. If you've been using TouchStone for some time, your org chart may look quite different, but everything I'm about to show you works in any account, including EasyOrgChart accounts. By clicking on the three dots in the bottom right corner of any box, you can edit the name and objective of that box on your chart. You can add another box for a reporting position on your org chart, or you can delete that position. By the way, if you want to delete a position, you must first delete or move any boxes reporting to that position. For a position to be deleted, it cannot have any boxes underneath it. It has to be what I like to call an orphan. You can also move positions around on your org chart. Just drag them and place them below any other box on the chart. Every box should have a role name and an objective. A role name, for example, can be something like inside sales rep or technician. And if you click or edit the box, you can add the objective for that position. Not what they do, not how they do things. Those will be the specific processes that will be listed below the box down here. The objective is the purpose for that position, or the 3 of 5 core responsibilities of that employee filling the position. Eventually, when processes get linked to these roles, training and accountability stops being abstract. Clicking on any box on your org chart accesses a position-specific operating manual for that position. All of the processes needed by that employee to do their job well are here, so you can hold them accountable to the expectations that you and their manager have of them. A few guidelines in creating your org chart. If you have multiple employees in your company filling the same role, 3 technicians, for example, don't create 3 individual boxes called technician. It's better to create one box and name the box technician-3. Eventually, you're going to create processes and link them to these boxes. If you have multiple boxes doing exactly the same role, then you're duplicating your work. And roles change and evolve. So every time a new process gets created or deleted, if you have multiple boxes for the same role, you're going to have to link and delete these processes multiple times. Instead, create one box for the technician, add your 3 employees as users in the TouchStone system, and then link those 3 employees to their role as technician. TouchStone will track who is doing what, and you'll be able to manage them accordingly. Okay, some additional notes when building your organization chart. An employee should only have one manager. And a manager shouldn't have to manage more than 10 or 15 employees. It's unmanageable to try to manage more than 15 employees. Also, build your org chart around departments. Build departments into your organization. In the simplest of instances, your departments can complement the 4 key functions listed over here in the left side panel of your TouchStone software. You could have departments for the 4 key functions of your business: sales and marketing, client fulfillment or operations, administration and finance. And then management and strategies, those are these positions here. In a more complex business, a more mature business, some of these departments can break down a little further. You might have separate departments for marketing, separate departments for advertising, sales, operations, finance, administration, human resources. When you're creating your org chart, think about the vision you have for your company. And then think about each of these departments. For example, What will your gross revenues be? Now start with sales. How many sales will you need to make to achieve that gross revenue goal? How many customers will you have? How many customers will you need? How many salespeople will you need to convert that number of prospects into long-term loyal customers? How many leads will you need? Do you need lead generators who pass on the qualified leads to salespeople to close? What are the different roles you'll need in the sales and marketing departments of the future business? How many positions and employees will you need to service that many customers? What will the operations and client fulfillment departments look like? And how many people will you need in administration and finance to support that level of sales and client fulfillment? Work through each department, name the positions, document the objectives for each of these positions, because if you can't tell me the purpose of each position, I would ask you whether or not you actually need that position in your business. And I would probably tell you to remove it from your org chart. And think about how many employees you'll need for each of the positions you've identified to be able to handle that volume of sales and client fulfillment. Just create what works for you in your vision of your organization. So your action for this step is simple. Use the vision you have for your company. Maybe it's the one you created in the previous step. What you hope the company will look like organizationally, say 3 years from now, and build that future state org chart by role. No names, no perfection, just clarity. Once the roles are clear, the next question becomes obvious. What does each role actually need to do? And that's step 3 in the 6-step business systemization plan, process identification. Watch the next video to keep building this in the right order, and I will see you there. And by the way, some of you may want help crafting your vision into an org chart, especially if you feel stuck. If that is the case, reach out. We'll walk you through this process. We've done this with hundreds and hundreds of businesses before, and we can do it for you. Lastly, remember that your org chart doesn't describe your people. Your org chart describes your business.